recording on. I'm glad. There we go. Okay. I turned the camera on. I was like, whoa, I have to back this thing up a little bit.
Yeah, so I think I sent Madison a version of my PowerPoint. I tweaked it a little bit, but I don't know if you guys have heard of the Manasseh project out of Grand Rapids. They have like an 8-minute video about just how human trafficking happens in Michigan.
Did you say Manasseh with the B?
Manasseh, MENASA project.
Manasseh.
Yeah, they're out of Grand Rapids.
Okay. I'm going to just take some notes as you talk.
Yeah. So I was just going to show it. I think I recently learned how to screen share. So
yeah, I think if you don't have the ability, I can. Okay, here, let's do. Yeah. I'm going to make you co-host.
Okay.
Which I think you already are. But now you are for sure. And then you'll be able to screen share that way. So let's just give it a few more minutes just for people to hop on. And then we can go from there.
Cool.
But how long have you been with M.A.P for?
I've been with M.A.P since I moved back to Michigan, so probably almost 3 years.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah. So before that, I was doing a lot of human trafficking work out in California.
Was that where you were, out in Cali?
I was getting my MSW out there.
What's that?
Master's in social work. Sorry.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Madison just texted me. She said, I didn't see the PowerPoint come through. So when you grab a sec, maybe you could, you don't have to do it now, but when this is over, if you could shoot that over to us, that would be awesome.
Yeah, sweet. Absolutely.
Thank you. And then, because I know not everybody is going to be able to make it on here tonight, we do record these. So just so you know, we are recording. And then we'll be able to circulate that around to all of our affiliates who aren't able to join us this evening. So
awesome. I don't know how much like people know about me. Do you want me to get into me?
Why don't you give like a little intro about yourself for sure?
Okay. Cool. Just like what I do and how I kind of got into it, I guess.
How you got involved with it, what called you to, focus on human trafficking and all of those things. So
cool.
Every phone I have is just, it dings at me and it lights up. So I have to flip them upside down if I ever want to be productive.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Hi, ladies. Hello, Nicole. I love these chat boxes. So if you guys want to comment in the chat, I love seeing you guys all engaged. As you guys know, if you see me or if you're with me on monthly webinars, you know that I love seeing faces. So with this being a webinar, we can have a couple hosts, but it's just Rachel and I on here tonight. So hi, Sarah. Hi, Hannah. This is great. I love this. So why don't we give it 2 more minutes and then we'll go ahead and start. So you're in Grand Rapids, right? Hey, Logan, Madison.
Me?
Yeah.
I live in Chelsea, Michigan.
Oh, you're in Chelsea. Okay.
Yeah.
More from us.
Yeah.
Hi, Jasmine. This is great. Hi, Sarita. So nice to have all of you ladies on here. This, as you guys know, human trafficking is a big focus for why we do what we do and how we've structured NuVita as a company. So it means a lot to me that you guys have taken the time out of your evening to spend some time with Rachel and I and learn all about human trafficking. So I'm sure you're going to give us some pretty startling statistics.
I will do my best.
Yes. And, it's important that we hear these these really raw truths about it because, it's not really talked about much on the news.
Not at all. Yeah. I'd like to say that human trafficking obviously has always been around, but I'd say it really just became like a hot button topic maybe like 7-10 years ago. And so it's still really, really new and not a lot of people know about it.
And I didn't really know about it much either until I dove, until we really structured NuVita around, this mission. And I had things that led me here, but it was really like after the first charity that we went to, I saw real faces and I saw real survivors, and I was like, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
have
Yeah.
to do more to help these people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's amazing that you guys kind of dedicate that with your company and really work to support local organizations. And
Yeah, we try to keep it local just because of COVID. Well, before COVID, we were able to like go and visit these places and really get
yeah,
to know, and just I'm all about relationships and just having that personal moment with the founder of these organizations or some of the survivors and just look them in the eyes and be able to really hear their stories and
absolutely.
just kind of experience through their
Yeah.
stories what they have lived through and overcome. COVID has
Definitely.
made it a little bit more difficult, but there's still some people that will let us, with masks and social distancing, of course, visit, which is,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
love
that's
that
good.
so much. So we're waiting to hear back if that's going to be the case with the Loveland Foundation, which is our charity for the month of February.
Oh, nice.
Sorry, I've got somebody over here. I've got
No,
my laptop here. I'm trying.
you have it all.
Oh my God.
Technology.
I didn't know there was text message on this until I just got one. Okay, so let's have you kind of just introduce yourself and how
Okay.
you got started and what what your role is with MAP. So
Okay, sweet. So hi everyone. Thank you for allowing me to join you tonight. My name is Rachel Rowe, and I am a limited license master social worker. So I am I guess, full-time job is I am an adoption resource consultant. So I help foster care youth get adopted, which I'll kind of talk more about later because that's very intertwined with human
I
trafficking.
have heard that before.
Yeah, people and the kids in the foster care system,
Mm.
absolutely. I guess I I got my master's out in California about 4 years ago. I'm from Michigan originally. I'm from Ann Arbor. I currently live in Chelsea. And I guess what kind of I've really always been human trafficking's kind of always been on my radar. I took an amazing seminar in undergrad, and actually Portland, Oregon, back in, gosh, 2006, maybe. They were one of the first states to really create and think of the idea of having like a solely human trafficking survivor shelter,
Wow.
and a shelter that really focuses on trauma focused care and things like that. So that kind of got me interested. And then I've done a lot of living abroad. I've lived in Africa as well as the Republic of Georgia. And so those are two places that human trafficking, is very prevalent. Obviously, it's not called human trafficking over there because it's normal. But so
Just
I've
like, is it intertwined with their society and the way
Oh
things?
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, brothels and prostitution and all of that is just a completely normal day-to-day thing over there. So that really kind of opened up my eyes to that part of it. And then moving back to the States, I really wanted to help. So when I lived in California, I was a caseworker and case manager for survivors out there, mainly foreign-born survivors who had were trafficked here in the U.S. So they were living in the U.S. and I was helping them find housing and food and
How does that
getting
work
visas
when?
and things like
Yeah, I
that.
was just gonna say when they're trafficked here and they don't have citizenship, so they can
Yeah.
go through the process of becoming a citizen through.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can get it's either a T visa or a U visa. There are two, but those are main visas for like asylum seekers, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that'll come up later in the PowerPoint too about how why human trafficking is such an underreported crime, because a lot of these victims are foreign born and illegal and undocumented. So they're not going to want to report because,
Right.
So.
Which
So
makes
yeah,
it harder to kind of shed the light on this situation.
oh, absolutely. This is, one of the most difficult crimes to, prosecuting is fine, but getting to the point of prosecution can be difficult for sure.
My goodness.
Let's see. So, okay, I wanted to just start out showing a quick video. Oh gosh, we'll see if I can figure it out.
Put this on Instagram too.
Just to kind of, okay, here we go. Can you guys see my screen?
Hmm?
Okay.
You just take a seat. All right. Thank you so much for coming in. I'm Mary, by the way.
I'm Mary tonight.
Tonight, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Don't mind the giant microphone above your head.
I'll try not to.
There are 3 photos in front of you. If you could just pick one, it doesn't really matter which one it is, and show that one to us.
All right.
Could you describe her to us?
She looks youthful. I feel like this is one of those situations where if I say he's 23, then he's actually going to be 16.
Hispanic, maybe not full, but part. Similar to me, actually.
Well, I mean, she's young, so probably has a lot of things to look forward to.
I would describe him as friendly.
She looks, happy. She doesn't look shy, but confident.
Anything she puts her mind to, she could achieve.
We actually have his story, if you could read that out loud to us.
Okay, Marcus. I grew up really close to my parents. Adriana. I grew up with my brother and sister.
Amy. I remember watching the Olympics on TV when I was 5 and being totally in awe of the sprinters.
I was the middle child and easily the quietest.
I felt like no one ever saw me or cared.
Dad was too drunk to keep a job, and he never even saw me unless I was in his way.
Mom worked 2 jobs to make sure we had food for every meal, so she was never here to know when he would hit us.
One day when I went to the mall, like I like to do to be out of the house, a man came up to me and told me I was beautiful and asked me on a date.
On our first date, he drove me around in his car and said we could eat whatever I wanted.
Every time we were together, he bought me something new.
Tom really cared about me, and Tom really made me feel special.
I was in love with him.
After only going out for 3 weeks, Tom offered me a way out of my home, asked me to move in with him.
So when he asked me to have sex with him, I did.
He would put his hand over my face until I couldn't breathe.
Tom had friends over pretty regularly, and I could tell that some of his friends were into me.
So I kept my door locked and hoped that no one would bother me.
After a few nights of crashing there, he said that I still owed him for letting me stay at his place.
He said he had a friend who wanted to spend an hour with me. He told me I might have to do some stuff, but not to worry about it. It's not a big deal.
When I didn't want to, he slapped me and said no one ever cared about me like he did.
But I didn't know what else to do because I needed a place to stay.
His friends forced themselves on me and took turns while he watched.
One by one, they'd come down to the basement, telling me how pretty I am.
When they're on top of me, I just close my eyes and pretend I'm running.
I'm exhausted and I don't know what to do.
My name is Adriana. I'm 16 years old.
My name is Marcus. I'm 14 years old.
My name is Amy. I'm 12 years old.
I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
And I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
And I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
That was very different than what I thought. Especially because like being a girl and imagining like if that was me, like that's, I don't even know. I can't even imagine what that would be like.
She deserves to be a kid, just like what she is in this picture.
It being so close to home is something that makes me want to jump out of this chair.
I wouldn't think that Grand Rapids is a place where anything like this would ever happen.
Because you don't want it to happen to anybody, and you really don't want it to happen to people that live where you live.
Thank you for sharing her story with us. I'd like to show you something if you wouldn't mind taking her picture and following me to the gym.
So
I expected something certainly a lot smaller.
Bar graphs and numbers, and but these are actual people. I don't know. In like my world and my bubble or whatever, we don't talk about this. It's not something you think about.
You know, what we see is only on the surface.
I mean, looking at this, sex trafficking doesn't have any discrimination, that's for sure. Ages, genders, can affect anybody.
It hits you right in your heart, your gut, your stomach. It's like, wow. Now it's like I feel like I have this weight of responsibility to see how I can help.
Changes through greater awareness and making people realize that this does happen here and will continue to happen until we decide to make it stop.
Okay. So yeah, I just kind of, I know it's super heavy, but I like to start out.
Daughter.
Yeah. I like to start out with that just to kind of reiterate. I mean, that's the biggest thing I get after I do all my presentations is like, I can't believe it happens here. And it absolutely happens, you know, right in your backyard. So, you know, I just like kind of bringing that home. So I guess I'll get started, and I don't think I can see if people ask questions, but Amanda, I'm sure kind of you can. So
I can see him over here. Where'd it go? There we go.
So yeah, so that was, and they mentioned that was the Manasseh project. It is out of Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay, that's what you were talking about.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of you know, things like that opening up, and a lot of agencies around the state of Michigan just trying to create shelters and things like that. So
Rachel, we're having a lot of requests for this video. Is there any way you could just send me the link to it?
Yep, I can send you that. And actually, while I was showing it, I also show quite a few other videos, but due to kind of time and stuff, but I will definitely share those links as well, because there's really, really informative videos out there for sure. So this is me, Rachel Rowe. Here's my email, but you know, as Amanda said, I will shoot this out to her so you guys can all have my email if you have questions afterwards or anything like that. So I am a part of M.A.P., Michigan Abolitionist Project, which I will kind of get more into the specific projects we do in a little bit. But we really focus on the efforts to support survivors and ending modern day slavery. So we do a lot of community awareness building, outreach, and events and trainings throughout the state. I am also, so M.A.P. there's about 8 chapters of us throughout Michigan. I'm a co-leader of the Washtenaw County chapter. I'm also a co-leader of SOAP, which is Save Our Adolescents from Prostitution. It was actually started by a survivor who, you know, learned that, well, she didn't learn, the majority of times she was being trafficked was out of hotel rooms. So once she got out of the life, she said, you know, what is one of the best ways to reach these people? Let's start putting soap in hotel rooms with the human trafficking hotline number on the back of it so these women can see it. So I co-lead that here in Washtenaw County. And we do a lot of hotel and motel trainings. So for employees and staff. And then we do a lot of outreach events because we know human trafficking is really increases during large events such as the Super Bowl, Ann Arbor Art Fair, Detroit, that Dream Car Drive. So we really try to kind of target during that and, make sure everyone's kind of really focused in on what could be happening. So these are the two websites down here, and I think everyone has the M.A.P website from the email that was sent. So, kind of what is human trafficking? Human trafficking is divided, into two categories: sex trafficking and labor trafficking. So sex trafficking is recruitment, harboring, transportation, obtaining a person for the purpose of a criminal sex act. And this is through the use of, force, fraud, or coercion. So that's one of the reasons that it's kind of hard to also identify, because in adults, these three, force, fraud, and coercion, need to be present. And, force is easy to see, that physical force, bondage, rape, things like bruises, more physical things you can see. But fraud and coercion are more difficult to prove. And then labor trafficking, the recruitment, harboring, transportation of a person for labor or services. So as I mentioned, I did a lot of work with survivors in California, and there I did a lot of labor trafficking work. A lot of these survivors, foreign born, were flown over here to work in the labor market. In Michigan, I'm seeing a lot of sex trafficking. I'm not saying that, labor trafficking isn't around. It absolutely is. But the majority of people we're working with here are sex trafficking. And then it is automatically trafficking if the person is under 18 years old. So domestic and international trafficking. So before I disclaimer, I know you guys want stats, but as I mentioned, it's a very underreported crime because a lot of these traffickers know who to target. They target people of vulnerable populations, people with lack of resources, little means, little family. So reporting is difficult because these vulnerable populations are already, stigmatized and all this stuff already, and so they don't want to report. So these stats I will give you are some that we have. But like I said, it's really hard to find exact stats. So about 20 million people are being trafficked worldwide, which I used to have a parenthesis on here. That's about the size of Australia, I believe, the whole country of Australia. Human trafficking is a $150 billion industry, which is also can be a factor in why it's difficult to not only for victims to report, but for any of these the traffickers to get prosecuted because they just make so much money.
And they probably just get bailed out every time.
They get bailed out. They have the means to move and things like that. It's ranked the second highest organized crime, right under drug trafficking. 27% of sex trafficking victims are trafficked by family members, which isn't a stat people talk about a lot, because when you think about human trafficking, you think about like that random person picking up a girl and trafficking her, but a lot of this is done by family, and that's that is also what I noticed when I lived abroad as well. A lot of these families are very poor and don't have money, so trafficking their own, they don't want to do that, but they also want to put food on the table for their kids. So
what a crappy situation.
Yeah, so it's definitely, it's horrifying. And I think I read a stat or something in West Virginia for familial trafficking is very big also.
Wow.
Yeah. 33% are trafficked by an intimate partner, which is also, that's a pretty big number for sure.
Yes, we had a comment. Somebody asked, are they repeat offenders within their family, like multiple children within their family?
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna, in my view, if you're gonna traffic, you don't really have a moral compass about like who you're gonna traffic. Yeah. If you're seeing that payday from one of your kids, and you're probably gonna unfortunately want to see more of that. And that's why human trafficking is ranked the second highest crime, and I think it's pretty soon gonna pass drug trafficking, because you're trafficking drugs and you can only use them one time and it's gone. A person can be trafficked multiple times. So yeah. In 2019, 22,000 victims and survivors were identified. So this is the Polaris Project. If you just Google them, polarisproject.com, I think. They're out of DC, and they are a national hotline. So once you call the hotline number, which I have at the end of my PowerPoint, that goes to the Polaris Project. And they are, once you become a nonprofit that works with human trafficking survivors, you identify yourself to the Polaris Project, who you are, what you work with, who you work with, the kind of services you have, where you're located. So then when the Polaris Project gets these calls, they are able to say, oh, okay, you're in Virginia. Well, let me hook you up with a food bank I know of in Virginia. And here's the shelter that works with human trafficking survivors. So they're able to kind of help you navigate where to go. So these next kind of 3 bullet points are from them. So 22,000 victims and survivors were identified, which is a 19% increase from 2018, regarding victim and survivor self-identification. So that's huge. And that says to me that the stigma of human trafficking is beginning to be lifted, and people are beginning to talk about this. This is not just a behind the doors issue anymore. And of those calls, 4,400, it resulted in 4,400 arrests of traffickers.
Wow.
And then a little over 1,900 trafficking businesses being shut down. So that's huge also. And we keep hoping that that number just keeps growing and growing.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a repeat slide. So trafficking in Michigan, and so this is a map, and obviously the red parts are the biggest trafficking hotspots that we're seeing. So you can't even see Michigan in it.
And from what I understand, that's because of all of our waterways. It just makes it super easy to transport. And
correct. Yeah. And I think I accidentally deleted that slide from this. But yeah, Michigan is a hotspot because of the waterways, because we are right on an interstate, because we are right next to the Canadian border. So it's very easy to transport around Michigan. And the stats on the left are also then again from the Polaris Project, also 2018 to 19. So around 400 trafficking cases were reported, and then it kind of breaks it down into sex, labor, and then sex and labor. And I also mentioned that, as I said before, there's an increase in victims and survivors contacting these hotlines. Let's see. So kind of then I go into kind of some big stuff that's happening around Michigan. The biggest one, I guess, recently was there's a lot of lawsuits beginning to happen around Detroit and Ann Arbor hotels. So that's really where kind of SOAP, the Save Our Adolescents from Prostitution, comes in, really kind of working with these hotels to create awareness and make sure they know what to look for. Governor Whitmore has done a really good job in kind of supporting the effort to end human trafficking and what can be done, and declaring kind of more support and help for these nonprofits and communities, which I think is huge. And then I will get more into this when I talk specifically about M.A.P. But Washtenaw County prosecuting attorney just released a sex work policy, which actually seeks to fully decriminalize what he calls consensual sex work. I actually just got off a 3-hour Zoom call with about 30 survivors talking about just how horrifying this is.
I put that on my Instagram and had everybody that, you know, wanted to sign that petition.
Great.
Sign that. And I think we had a pretty good response rate from what I know, what I heard.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and, you know, M.A.P. we're really trying to take the lead. Obviously, it's in Washtenaw County. So that's where my M.A.P. group is. So there's about 4 of us here who kind of co-lead and work together. So we're really trying to spearhead that initiative and create a lot of letters that we're writing and things like that. So let's go here. So obviously COVID-19 and trafficking. COVID-19 has really affected trafficking. And I link at the end of this kind of where I get these stats to and stuff like that. So the shelter in place, which happened, you know, originally back in April, really kind of closed a lot of these shelters and emergency supports, such as specifically here in Washtenaw County, we have a nonprofit called the Neutral Zone, which is focused on LGBTQ youth and really kind of, you know, not normalizing it, but really making them feel comfortable, like they have a home and a place to go and, you know, people they can talk to. And so, yeah. So for example, when the shelter in place happened, that nonprofit completely shut down because no one was going to it. They're actually still shut down. We're all hoping they'll reopen at some point, but
their lack of funding that made them shut down.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, they really get funding through the projects that they offer to the community. And since no one was coming to any of their groups or anything like that, they're not really getting, any kind of community support. So that just like specifically here was one place that closed, but the shelter in place definitely made so many places close, which then these victims really had nowhere to go. So, and a lot of times, especially on the call I was just on, survivors will say, I couldn't leave the life because I had nowhere to go. So I am being brutalized every day. I'm being raped. I'm being, physically assaulted, but my kid and I have nowhere to go. And yes, we need to leave, but we also need to eat and we need shelter. So that just kind of created more of a struggle for, these victims. Also, COVID-19 is obviously, as we all know, increasing those vulnerable populations. So families who weren't homeless before this are now becoming homeless. Families who had steady, 2-income jobs and were fine now have maybe 1-income jobs or none. And so they're really struggling. Impacts of human trafficking, economic stress, which is, another big vulnerability for a lot of people. The rise in online sexual exploitation. So, people are at home more, which means they're on their computers. And when I talk to any of my foster care youth, I bring this up because they are all playing video games all day, every day on their computer and talking to who knows who on the other line of it. So, really kind of, and I push this in all of our presentations, cyber trafficking and what that looks like and what parents can look like. And specifically now, since kids are spending that much more time on the computer talking to people they don't know, like what does that look like? Spikes in violence against victims of human trafficking, so homelessness, excuse me. A lot of homeless people get that stigma, and really not a lot of people help, and so now add COVID on that. No one's going to want to help them now because they're worried about coronavirus and catching it and everything like that. So that just kind of spikes that violence and these homeless men and women having nowhere to go. And then also jobs and in-person services such as childcare for survivors are no longer available. So that food insecurity, schools are shut down, kids are at home more, domestic violence is on the rise because families are at home, they're stressed, they're getting annoyed with each other, they're getting annoyed with the kids. So,
I heard the children's hotline number last year, or what was it? In 2019, it was like 1 million calls. And then in the year of 2020, because they just ended they just released their year-end report, it was almost 5 million.
Wow.
So
yeah.
These kids are like, everybody's, this is heartbreaking.
Right.
It's making me think of like, how can I fill in these?
I know it's really sad. And I was a teacher for a few years, and for a lot of kids, school is their safe haven. Parents are abusive, there's no food at home. I go to school, I get fed, I know, I'm going to be safe and cared for and warm. And so when all these schools closed, it was a huge negative impact for these kids. And then finally, interrupted financial support for anti-trafficking agencies such as mine. A lot of our agencies are nonprofits, so we do really
the donations.
Yeah, rely on donations and government support, and we're not.
Has the support been affected from the government just because you're not you don't have people to serve with your services?
I think it's that, and it's also just kind of the unknown of everything, So really now governmental organizations and state fundings are really having to focus more on who they can support. And a lot of times nonprofits, like smaller nonprofits like mine are, not, I guess, as, important. Well, we are important, but we're ranked a little lower than the other nonprofits. So, and then kind of irregular migration. So that's a big factor in trafficking as well, kind of natural disasters. When Hurricane Katrina hit, there were a lot of victims that came out of that because they lost their housing, they were separated from family, they weren't sure where to go. And so this is kind of the same thing. There's a lot of migration, a lot more people becoming homeless, a lot more of this unknown. So yeah, I mean, I remember my group talking when COVID first hit, and we were like, oh, well, maybe trafficking will decrease a little bit because it's COVID and no one wants to get close to each other and stuff like that. But we are unfortunately seeing the exact opposite of that. And obviously there aren't stats because COVID is still happening. So unfortunately, I can't give you guys stats on that. And then I did mention I would go into foster care youth and LGBTQ. Those are really two big vulnerable populations. As I mentioned, I work a lot with foster care youth as my job, and I also do, I guess I'm kind of like the unofficial go-to presenter for foster care professionals because I know so much about it and work so directly with them. So 88% of children identified as survivors had previous involvement in the child welfare system.
Oh my God, that is
it's a staggeringly high number. And these kids, unfortunately, the foster care system is, I would say, perpetuating the cycle of human trafficking. Just, they are very unaware, and there's only so much they can do. Kids are living in these group homes with 50 to 100 other kids, and that is the perfect breeding ground for human traffickers. A lot of times human traffickers will send in kind of like a scout, I guess, to pose as a foster care youth in these group homes and recruit them. So when they do run away or when they do age out of the system, they, met a friend. And yeah.
How old are they when they age out, Rachel?
Foster care youth, when they age out, are 19, but once you turn 18, it is your choice if you want to terminate your case. So we see a lot of 18-year-olds who are like, I'm 18, I'm an adult, I'm out. Like, I don't want you guys in my life anymore. So they terminate their case, and that means we can't be there for them anymore. We can't really kind of give them those resources. So let's see. So of those, let's see, in 2016, an estimated 1 in 8 endangered runaways reported to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children were likely child sex trafficking victims. And of those, 88% were in care of social work or foster care when they ran away. So that both of those are just such high numbers that say that the foster care system is not doing enough. We're not recognizing this problem. We're not
trained. They're not trained to identify or to, there's it seems that there's not like a lot of checks and balances here to make sure that these foster parents.
Yep. And that's one of the big things. The staff of these group homes are not trained to identify human trafficking, to see these risk factors, and to help. And they don't have the training in how to help, like what to do when they see these risk factors. How can I help these youth? So, and we see that in foster care parents as well. So I do a lot of training for foster care parents also. You're about to adopt this teenager. What comes with teenagers, behaviors, all this stuff. Well, we also unfortunately have to be aware of human trafficking and who they're talking to and what they're doing, because kids in the foster care system are coming with this previous trauma in their life. So they are already vulnerable. They are looking for someone
to love them.
To love them, exactly, to care about them, to want them. And a lot of traffickers are very keen on being able to recognize that.
Yep.
Another group is the LGBTQ. So 40% of homeless youth identify as LGBTQ. And of those, 3 to 7% are more likely to engage in survival sex. 7.4% are more likely to experience forms of sexual violence. So this is just another very vulnerable population that is very susceptible to human trafficking. But as the video said, human trafficking does not discriminate. Like, you can be one of these vulnerable population youth, or you could come from a really stable home life and a lot of money and things like that, and you are still equally as susceptible to human trafficking. So I'm gonna go back. So this is kind of what M.A.P is doing this past year and then this upcoming year. This past year, obviously, we've had a slower than usual year due to COVID, but we're still trying to, as much as we can, get out there and everything like that. So we do a lot of community outreach, training, volunteer training, speaker training. We get a lot of requests. We also, Hope Against Trafficking is in Pontiac, and they are a shelter as well as a nonprofit. And they, during COVID, have started webinars. They're called Cup of Hope. And they do it once a week, and they cover really interesting topics about human trafficking and get a lot of local professionals in to kind of talk as well.
Is it open to the public?
I believe so. I believe they have a Facebook, but I can also find their website.
I'm taking notes. I can look it up.
Okay. Yeah. It's definitely open. M.A.P also does annual conferences. So, anti-trafficking organizations in southeastern Michigan are busy providing direct services to survivors. M.A.P is the entity that kind of brings all of these organizations together to talk about what we're doing and what we can be doing and more that we can be helping. So kind of keeping everyone connected and helping to build those relationships and strengthening partnerships. Volunteer-based initiatives. So we email training series. We, as I mentioned, have a lot of community groups around the state. We're always trying to kind of create more. We would like to have essentially a group in every area. I'm trying to get M.A.P more into northern Michigan. We're in Grand Rapids, we're in Saginaw, we're in Lansing, but like getting more into, and I don't think we're in the UP yet. So really working on that. We also do, it's called the Label Project. We distribute hotline numbers to rest areas across the state. So I don't know if you've been to any rest areas in the bathroom that say, if you see, so like that was us. That was an initiative we started that's in rest areas and a lot in bus terminals as well. So we're really kind of working on continuing that. The collaborative efforts we're doing, as I mentioned, and it sounds like, as you guys are aware of, this consensual sex work policy that's been passed.
It passed?
Oh yeah. It's a official policy as of the end of January. So that is why kind of we are up in arms and survivors are up in arms. And we've been having Zoom calls. I'd say we've had like 5 Zoom calls in the past 2 weeks.
That passed?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
Right.
So that is going to make Michigan it's going to make us a sex hub.
Well, exactly. And that's what Eli, Ellie, I think his name's Ellie. He's been on all these calls too, the prosecuting attorney.
The one who wrote the policy.
The one who wrote the policy. But yeah, essentially.
He had funding from the porn industry.
He may have. My big question is like, why did this policy happen so fast? It like passed really fast and I don't understand why. So he must have been like feeling pressure from somewhere.
100%.
But yeah, a lot of the survivors are saying just what you said. So it's gonna pass. It's gonna be a thing here in Washtenaw County. Traffickers are gonna bring their trafficking victims to Washtenaw County to do this because they're not gonna get prosecuted, which is horrible.
I did not know that passed.
It did. Yeah. So we're definitely, it's slowly working, but I'm hoping that you'll see the light at some point. We also are partnering with Hope Against Trafficking. Again, we're piloting a human trafficking prevention curriculum in all of the Michigan schools. So Florida passed this, I want to say maybe a year ago. Ohio's looking at passing this in terms of having this as a concrete curriculum in K through 12. Something that teachers can give themselves, because at this point, myself and my co-leaders do a lot of training in schools. So this would be just a great way that teachers could do it themselves and we could be there to support. We also partner with other organizations such as End the Demand, Freedom Coalition, which advocates, which experienced advocates kind of come to learn, network, collaborate. And then we're working this year on ways to enhance direct survivor support. As I mentioned, we are not a direct survivor support organization. We do kind of more behind the scenes stuff, which I think is equally as important. But we're really trying to, partner more with the survivors we know and things like that. So then here's kind of just the last slide, what I can do. Here's the trafficking hotline number I mentioned. Just kind of having those conversations, opening this up to not be a stigma. Really,
I hope that we can do with our community that is so strong and growing every single day is to just really be the voice for the voiceless.
Absolutely. Sharing that, really being trauma informed, I think is huge, and just being well informed about, the policies in kind of our area and what's going on.
What is the best way for somebody like myself who, knows a little bit but not a lot to learn more on a regular basis? One of the things that I wrote down here is this abolitionist program email training series.
Yeah. So that webinar is really great. Like I mentioned, it's once a week. Also M.A.P. We have a lot of community outreach and presentations that pre-COVID we did on a pretty regular basis. Now it's all on Zoom. But Washtenaw County, we just showed a video and had a Q&A last month, which was Human Trafficking Awareness Month. And, so hopefully post-COVID, we're able to do more stuff in person, and the chapters of M.A.P. around the state are really gonna focus on, we focus on doing that community outreach. So really getting the general public to kind of know what's going on and how they can help and things like that. So, but yeah, M.A.P., the website you guys have, if you go to mapmi.org, I think, or something, it has a calendar, and on that calendar is every event that is going on around the state. And what's nice, I guess, about Zoom is you can be attending all of those events that normally would be hard to drive to or whatever.
So in a sense, this does kind of make this learning process a little
right.
bit easier.
Exactly. I led our video Q&A last month, and a woman who worked at one of the hospitals in the UP was able to join. And so she and I kind of have been chatting, and I made that connection and hoping to, go up to the UP and do some hospital trainings.
So Rachel, I first want to thank you so much for your time this evening and all of this stuff that you shared with us. My mind is now going a million miles an hour on how I can activate my community and my following on Instagram more, and my close friends and family to learn and to be a better voice for the voiceless in these
Absolutely. And you guys have a great platform that you could really utilize.
Make things up for sure. So I do want to just kind of open the floor up here to anybody who has just some last minute questions, comments, appreciation to give. Can you not see this chat box here, Rachel?
I can if I stop sharing my screen.
Okay, so we have, let's see. Okay, wait, hang on. There was one right here. Are there specific Instagram pages you recommend to stay informed, especially for Michigan?
That's a great one. M.A.P., I believe, has an Instagram page. And SOAP has an Instagram page. But I don't, to be honest, here in Michigan, I I don't know of too many, but that's definitely something I should research too. So I will look into that. Absolutely.
Maybe that's something that we can start too.
Yeah, no, for sure. And
Okay, we had a question up here. So somebody had commented during your speech, does this include the families that sell their children into marriage?
No, like the child brides you hear about in third world countries and maybe here in the US, probably here in the US. I think if the youth is under 18, I think absolutely, because what are they being sold for? Like, why is someone wanting to marry a 14-year-old if not to exploit them sexually? So yeah, I would say yes.
Where can we find resources to learn how to spot traffickers or victims?
So I'll send you guys my longer PowerPoint if you don't mind. I cut mine down just because of time.
Yeah, send me the whole thing and I can circulate it because I think Madison filled you in a little bit about what we do and how we've started this company being rooted in service to serve these vulnerable women and youth. I really try to lead all of my community members on Instagram and within our community at NuVita to be to learn and to teach them as much as I know, but I really don't know that much. I've just been able to facilitate some donations with the help of everybody that's on here and everybody who's not on here. So any way that we can kind of activate these people. So because we do have such a large affiliate network, we can, they're like ground soldiers. We can put them on the ground and they can share these resources with people. And as you know, it can spread like wildfire pretty fast.
Absolutely. Yeah. And M.A.P has a really good Facebook page too.
Okay.
And then each of the chapters also has a Facebook page. So like the Washtenaw County chapter, I think we're called Ann Arbor Community Group. I should know that because I actually lead the page. But so we have a lot of like resources and things that are going on. We just post and stuff like that. But I will definitely share kind of those red flags to look out for.
That would be great because then, the more we know, the better we can do. And like I said, we could really activate our community. And
for sure. Yeah.
And a lot of us, not all of us, but a good portion of us are here in Michigan. Okay, so let's see. Where would you be able to find the M.A.P webinars?
So the M.A.P webinars, I'm assuming you're talking about the Cup of Hope webinars?
Is that what you're talking about, love?
Because M.A.P, we partner with Cup of Hope, which is that's what the webinar is called. It's done by Hope Against Trafficking.
Okay, and they're out of Pontiac, you said.
And they're out of Pontiac. And let me you can go to their website and it kind of talks more about them. But and I don't know where on their website it is, but if you go to the M.A.P website, so the one that was emailed out, I think, to everyone, they have a link there to all the Cup of Hope webinars. And
wonderful. I can compose, my team and I can compose a email, send out this recording, send out your PowerPoint if you're okay with us sharing that. And then send out some of these links and stuff. So, okay, let's see. What is the best way to go about finding info about what's happening and the nonprofits not in Michigan?
Not in Michigan. So I also just YouTubed Cup of Hope Trafficking,
Mhm.
and they're all right there.
Oh, all the webinars?
All of them, yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
They're all, and there's a lot of them. So
That's great.
get some popcorn and really.
I was just gonna say,
dive in.
grab some popcorn. You still got a couple hours probably before you go to bed.
Dive in. Yeah, I don't know if that's something you want to maybe listen to right before you go to bed, because it gets pretty deep.
Is it? Okay.
And it's done by Hannah is one of the women who's in it all the time, and Hannah Peck, and she is the woman who created the human trafficking school curriculum.
Okay.
And then Emily Johnson is also in a lot of them, and she is one of the like leaders of M.A.P, like the full M.A.P.
Okay. Do you
So
have any resources for people not in Michigan where they can find like a database of?
Right. So a lot of the resources, videos and stuff I'll send you that are actually on my longer PowerPoint are some of them are like the MISSY project, which I think stands for motivating, inspiring, some S's. They're out of San Francisco, and they do a lot of videos about how to speak to your children.
Oh, I love that.
About human trafficking. Because, it's never too early, but like what age is the right age and how much.
What did you say that was called?
It's called the MISSY organization. So MISSSEY. So 3 S's.
Okay.
.org, and they're out of Oakland, California.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I follow on Instagram Saving Innocence. They're out of Los Angeles, and they do a lot of direct service work with survivors. But I can, I'll have some kind of links you can look at, and really just like kind of Googling human trafficking organizations. And if you go to the Polaris Project hotline, or not the hotline, the website, they also link some organizations around the country.
We've got one more question left here, and then we'll let you go. I don't want to keep you late, but where can we research some stories of survivors? I like ending on a positive note, and I feel like that's a great one to end on. Thank you so much for asking.
Stories of survivors. I don't know. I've never actually heard a survivor story online or not in person.
They're just like afraid to.
Yeah, I think, people just don't share. It's hard for survivors to open up in general. And then I think, a lot of them on like a social media platform is, that's very daunting for them. But a lot of these websites you go to for like shelters, they will have, direct quotes from survivors and things like that.
A couple of my teammates and I had the opportunity to go to a home not far from where I live, actually, and hear one of these girls' stories about how she was trafficked from California and ended up in Ohio. No, she ended up somewhere and then found, I'm going to keep it private just for the sake of the organization, but found this woman.
Yeah.
And the woman was able to arrange a flight out to get this girl, bring her back, and now they've got her in the home, and I don't know if she's still there. I'm assuming she's still there, but just looking into her eyes and hearing her story, I cried like a baby. I really did, because I just we grow up, and most of us grow up in this bubble, right? Where you just like don't think of that being a realistic situation for people, when
Right.
really it's a realistic situation for
Yeah.
far many.
These women have so much strength, way more
know.
than, what kind of got me, so what led me to you guys, I think, essentially, was my sister uses your CBD oil for her dogs.
Oh, I love
and
it.
She is obsessed.
It's-
And so she was on your website going to order, and she saw, I mean, it's on your website, so I'm assuming it's out there. She saw Sanctum House.
Yes. Yep.
I used to work for Sanctum House.
Amazing.
I was their case manager for a little bit. And so she texted me and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you need to check out this organization, like this company. They do CBD oil. Butch Cassidy, her dog, loves it. And but they also do like reach out for human trafficking stuff in Michigan. So that's kind of how I found you guys. But yeah, no, these survivors are so strong."
So Hannah just said, I found a podcast called I Dare You that informs about human trafficking. It's by the United Against Human Trafficking. And then somebody said, I know you're close to ending the webinar, but I would love to get connected with someone who may know about this. Do you know of any resources Michigan or other states have put in place to protect the victim so they can be informed of their offenders if they are prosecuted without the offenders themselves being notified? I know that's a problem. I've heard that, because when they get protection orders, their address is on these protection orders. People, Evie from the Sanctum House, Evie Franklin from the Sanctum House told me that.
Yep. Yeah, no, and a lot of these women who go to jail, their traffickers are, either listed as their emergency contact or whatever. So they get notified when the women get released. So a lot of survivors I talk to say, I go to jail, and then get released right back to my trafficker.
Who puts them as the emergency contact though? The victim?
I don't think so. I think, but they might. A lot of victims have, Stockholm syndrome to some capacity. So,
well, again, we thank you so much for your time. This has been eye-opening for me in many ways. And now my brain is, how can I fill in these Swiss cheese holes? What can I do more of to, to activate our community in a deeper sense, and really just try to be real abolitionists for this cause, because it is something that I have grown to bring really near and dear to my heart, and I know everybody else here as well. So
yeah, no, and please let me know if you ever want any more presentations or anything like that. And
are our charity of the month of March. I think you know that already. So.
I do. I'm not quite sure what that looks like, but I'm sure we can talk about that.
So at the end of the month, what we do. Oh, hi, you're supposed to be asleep. Mom life at its finest. This is end.
Oh.
But anyways, at the end of the month, we will go ahead and stack up our donations. And then what we do is so on April 1st, you'll be hearing from us, and we'll have that donation ready to go. And what we would love to do is hand deliver one of these. This was for the Kalamazoo Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition.
Okay.
They were our January recipients, and we print those checks, and then obviously, for sharing sake and marketing sake, for our team members to be able to put that on their social media channels and platforms. We would love to be able to do that if you're open to it.
Absolutely.
So we really appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you. Like I said, we're not direct service, but we like kind of getting our name out there. And
and we will continue to do our part. And just hearing about stuff like this, it makes me want to like do this more often, so our community members are hearing different stories and you know, new statistics and things like that as they develop. So on behalf of everybody here, thank you again so much for spending time with
Thanks
us.
for having me. Absolutely, it was a pleasure.
I'll be in touch with you soon, and then go from there. So
all right, have a great night, everyone.
So
Thank you
much.
so
And
much.
we'll talk soon. So take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye.